Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second meeting of Rochester Xamarin for March. Before we get started with our presentation, I always like to thank our sponsors. The .NET Foundation covers our Meetup.com subscription, which allows all of you to find this the online meeting for this, and my company File on Q provides us the GoToMeeting subscription, so we could provide this virtually for anyone in the world to come and attend live. And today we're going to have Alexandre Costa talking with us about best practices on writing view models. He's a Microsoft MVP, a speaker, amongst other things, and excited to have him here and share some knowledge about how to write better view models when you're building your Xamarin.Forms applications. I'll give you a screen. You could continue to introduce yourself.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to turn my camera off, and you should be able to present.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. So first of all, thank you for inviting me to present here. It's always a pleasure to present and share knowledge. I really like it. And today we'll talk about best practice writing view models. That is a so important part of the Xamarin.Forms development. A little bit about me. I am a visual impaired developer, passionate about technology. I am an accessibility and diversity evangelist. I love to talk about these subjects. I am a Microsoft MVP in development technologies. And today I am a Xamarin chapter leader at Architect. So today my job is more related to developing people than apps, but I still programming and I love coding. And I like to joke that I changed my life. I removed all constants and left only the variables. So today we'll talk about MVVM. What is MVVM? Best practices about view models and testing. First of all, to talk about creating great view models and creating great apps, it's impossible to not relate it to UX and DX. UX, the user experience, DX, the developer experience. So talking about user experience, it's the first step. Before creating the app, before coding, before thinking about anything, you need to think the experience of your user. How your user will achieve that goal using your app. What are the tasks they need to do to achieve that feature? So user experience is completely necessary to have a great app. It's not good only having a great UI, a very beautiful app. It must be usable. And here you have a lot of techniques, a lot of things to talk about. It's a very extensive. But sometimes you need to remember that less equals more. Sometimes making a simpler user interface, you get a richer user experience. So as a developer, you should have it in mind. About developer experience, to create a great app, it's not necessary to code the app. You need to be involved in the whole process. So be involved. Since the idea, someone had the idea, go there, talk to them, discuss pros and cons of everything. Think about technical things, but also invest in thinking about the experience of the user. It's also your take ownership about it. And please don't study only technical things. Study a little bit about UX. Understand the communication, a lot of tasks related to the user experience, how to interview the user, how to get information, what is really important. It will let you have a better understanding of how your app will be and make you code the right thing the first time. So it's good to study more than coding, but study things related to it too. And what is this famous MVVM? The famous MVVM? MVVM stands for Model View ViewModel. It's an architecture pattern created by Microsoft in the early 2008. It was created first of all to work with WPF applications, and it's completely coupled to XAML because of data binding. So it's really fit into this kind of application. And as Xamarin.Forms are XAML UI applications, it's great to use in scenario too. So Model View ViewModel has three parts. First of all, is the model. The model is the core business logic. It's completely independent of the UI. You can create a model that can be used in a web application, and the same model be reused inside the mobile application. Or this model is part of the API that will be consumed by the app. So make it completely independent. It should have only the business logic, things related to the business, nothing related to the user interface, nothing related to the infrastructure. It's the code related to the business. And usually it will come from an API. It will come from an external entity, an API, a queue, a file, something else. It's independent of your code. The view, it's the user interface. It's what your user see and what your user interacts. So it should has only presentation logic. So you can decide the colors, the controls that will be used, things like that. Don't put logic for your business here. It should be controlled by the other layers of this architecture, or by the model, or by the view model. Usually, in this case, by the view model. That is the next step. Think about your view model as the behavior of your user interface. As the user interface is what your users see, your view model is what make this interface works. Think about a very, very fancy car. The view is the chassis of this car. It's how you see this car. Oh my God. The engineering of making a very beautiful sport car is awesome. But what makes this car runs on the road is the engine. And the engine is your view model. Is it that you make the car runs? Is the view model that you make all the things inside the car works? So the car is the interface, the engine and the whole electric system is your view model. And what I can suggest as practices for this, because until now I was talking about things that major of you know about. You do use it all day long working with Xamarin.Forms apps, but why I decided I should talk about it here? Because as I worked 5 years with Xamarin apps, I created a mind model to decide how to create my view models. And as it is the most important, in my opinion, part related to the code, of course, what your users see is your view. But what makes this view works is your view model. So I don't know if in the company you work, you have a designer that will create the user interface, but if not, it applies to the same way. But I like to read the description of the feature. If you have some designs, it's good to check the designs to see if the designer also get the same things. And as I told you before, if you have anything to tell anyone in the team, it's the time to say, oh, I think we missed something, or I think that there is something else that you can do to make it better. It's the time. But I read the specification. Someone, in my case, described me the user interface. I verified that everything's okay. It's time to code. Okay. First, I create my view model, and I look to the specification and find the interactions of the user. What the user will do in this interface? Does the user need to touch anything? Is the user need to swipe or make any kind of different gestures in the screen? Okay. For each of these interaction, I will create a command, right? So I decide it's the button step, the gestures, anything else, it will be a command. Okay, I mapped all the commands, I mapped all the user interactions. My second step is, what is the data I need to finish this action? Oh, it's a user interface to a financial transaction. And I need the source account, the destination account, and the amount. Okay, I found out the properties that I need. So I create these properties, and it depends on the way that it will be shown or not, it will be inputted or not. I decided if it shall be a read-only property, something that the interface will only read, or it's a read-write property that I will bind to entry, select, picker, or something else. Okay. The third thing that I start thinking about is, okay, to complete this tasks, what my user needs to know about. And with that, I start creating the public properties that will be shown on the screen. Finished it, I start creating the user interface. And now, as we have the compiled bindings, it's easy to bind the commands to the actions, bind the properties to the labels, entries, and other controls. And with the compiled bindings, I have a compile time verification that everything's okay. But, Alexandre, what is the benefits of doing this way? First of all, I don't do over-engineering. All the time I get projects to maintain and starting looking to the view models and starting seeing a lot of basic properties that are not used during the whole project. So if I do a step back and start doing in this way, my view models has only the properties, the commands, and other things that I need. It makes my code better. It makes my app easier to maintain, and it reduces a lot of bugs. I like to say that code is a story. We are authors of code. So we are like authors of a book. And the next person that will read our book needs to understand it. So as easier to read is our code, it's better to share it between the members of the team. And I am really fan of dependency injection, and I will tell you why. First, put your dependencies on the constructor. It will make everyone that needs to use your class know what your class depends on to work. It's really sad to run a code, a test, or something else, and you have to understand the code and try to guess what you need to make that code run. Oh, it's giving me throwing a null pointer exception because a property is not filled. It's not set. Why? If you don't ask me to send me all the dependencies on the constructor, I don't have to know how to know that you depend on other classes and other things initialized. And who works with me know that, for example, it's something that I really dislike about some classes on Xamarin.Forms and, for example, the shell. That is a static class, and first of all, it's really coupled to your code when you start using it. Okay, I can create my own abstraction on top of it, but I don't have pointers of extension and other things that static APIs make hard to overcome. But okay. The second thing, rely on interface, on abstractions. So not only receive your dependence on the constructor, but pass only the interfaces of the base abstraction class. Why that? Because it makes it easier first to change it if you need to input a null kind of implementation of that feature, but it will make your view models easier to test. As I said, I started creating my view models first, so I don't have a view, but I'm also able to test my view model. It's because I rely on abstractions, I rely on interfaces, I rely on services. So it's a way of making your code more testable. And use dependency injection. Why that? Okay, I am saying to put everything as abstractions. I am saying to put everything as constructor dependencies. So sometimes we will have a lot of dependencies, and it will make hard to, new object and dependency 1, dependency 2, dependency n. Using dependency injection, you just ask for a new instance of your class, and it will handle all the dependencies for you. So it's making your code cleaner, because you don't have to pass a lot of parameters to initialize a new object. And you have someone that will take care of the life cycle of your objects. We know that's not so easy to maintain a single instance of an object, make it immutable, or decide when it's time to create a new instance, or have an instance per scope, and so on. So dependency injection and inversion of control are very good practices to handle it. About testing, I have a pin that says exactly this sentence: no test, no fear. Okay, so what I need to test when I create a view model? First, we need to test our code. The code of frameworks and dependencies we have should be tested by the maintainers of the framework and of the dependencies. At least I guess. I don't need to test if Xamarin.Forms is working to test my view model. I should expect that Xamarin.Forms will work, and so I need to test the code of my view model. Mock the dependencies. So I need a response from an API. No, I will mock its call. I need a dependency on a storage like keychain or SQLite or so on. I will mock it. I need the time to verify if it should run something. I will mock it. And it's something that I see a lot. People struggling to test. Never verify something against datetime.now. Create an abstraction around it and test it against your abstraction, and it makes easy to inject this and reply with the time you need to verify. So work on abstractions. And at the last and not the least, test with different inputs and outputs. As developers, we always try to think the things in the more logical way. Our users are not reasonable. They usually try to do things. For example, try to make an API request without having internet access. Or try to save files on the SIM cards, on the SD card, with no storage available. They will try to send a lot of data and it's without having, I don't know, the permission to do it. So test not only the happy path. Try to think, what is the worst case that can happen in this situation? And do it. Test with it. Make your codes resilient about it. You don't need to solve the problem. Your user don't have internet access. But give to him a great experience showing, oh, you don't have internet access. I can do it right now. I really love when I start trying a new app and I receive error messages that are not only informative but fun. So try to do it. A great example of experience for us developers I like to share is Git. Try to type some command on Git. They say, are you trying to do that? And give you an example of the command. So I think that in your apps, you should do it more. We can prevent a lot of bad bad behaviors for our users and bad reviews on the stores if you take more care of your users. Okay, I will open Visual Studio right now. It's the last slide. So I will open my Visual Studio right now, and I will look to some code I wrote and demonstrate these techniques applied on the code. This sample is Xamarin.bookshelf is the code I showed on Monday during .NET Conf, focused on Xamarin. I had some problems with Teams, and I hadn't enough time to show all the code, show you guys there, but we have this opportunity right now. So let's go to the ViewModels folder. Sorry guys, my screen reader is starting to... I can show you the app running later. But first of all, let's plot some of our view models. Okay, the objective of this app is search books on an API that I created to abstract the Google Books API, and let me create my bookshelf with books that I want to read, books that I am reading, and books that I read, and I can review this book. I can make my opinion. I like it or dislike this book, and write something like we do on Amazon's app. So the main feature is searching for a book. So I have a view called book search, and I create the book search view model. It's okay to read the code, Andrew?
I'm sorry?
It's okay, the size of my fonts?
Yeah, it looks good to me. If anyone's got a problem, can you just drop a line in the chat and we'll increase it. But I think this looks good for
Okay.
presentations.
Oh, thank you.
I'm getting some looks goods in the chat, so I think we're good to go.
Oh, great. It's a very simple class. I have my usings here. And before reading the code, let's do that mind model I created. Okay, when I think about book search, I think in two components. I have to input text, search criteria, so parts of a title, and the interface should list me the books. And if I tap on a book, I should go to the details of this book. All right? So interactions. Type a search in the search criteria and tap on a book to go to the details. Right. So let's search the commands here. I have two commands. Search command and details command. Okay, I am consistent with my mind model. Okay, thinking about it, what is the data I need to handle these actions? I need a text to be the search criteria, and I need a list of books to handle the result of my books. I have here an observable collection of books. I have a property for search text. I think that I'm going in a good direction. So I need to get data from my API. So I have a dependence on some service that makes query to me. Let's constructor. All right, I have here my constructor, and I am receiving in my constructor my book service. And I have here the initialization of my two commands. So one of the search command, another of the tails command. Here I'm navigating to my details page. I am searching for my books and it's okay. Great. My book search feature is following my mind model to creating a view model. Let's see another one. I searched for my book and I want to review this book. So let's go to the review. I am in another. You have noticed that my view models inherit from base view model. It's just a class that implements the iNotify property change. It's nothing to really take care. Okay. It's a feature of shell, so I can mark that when I navigate to this view model, I can receive parameters from the query string, and this way that I put it here. So it's the book ID that you will receive from the query string. So thinking about reviewing a book, what I need the book ID. That is something that you'll receive from my query string. I need the review title. I need the review summary, the details of my review, or what I think about this book. And I need a rating of this book. And I have here these three properties. But it's the data I need. What about the command I need? I need a command to submit. And I need a command to cancel it. I have my dependencies here again with the book service. So it's just navigate with the cancel. And here it will say, let's go to Reflector.
18. 7 notificações. Atenção. Faciliteu. Twitter. Double tap to calendário. Skype. Página 3. Como. Página. Zoom. Página. FGTS. Página 3. Test flight. Página 7. Music. Página 8 of Xamarin. Boxer. Location Terminal. Control Center. Do not disturb. Screen. Fire. Screen. Botão. Desktop devolver. Botão. Desktop. Selecionado. Desktop devolver. Botão. Stop. Selecionado. Desktop devolver. Desktop. Botão ordenar. Desativado. Use pesquisa show more controls. Clock 2. Open controls. Xamarin. Boa selfie. Mobile.
So I'm reading the app.
Welcome to Xamarin. Fotos. Library. Tabulação. 2 de 2.
Go to the library.
Selecionado. Library. Tabulação. 2. Campo de texto. Toque 2 vezes para campo de texto. Delete.
Search for Xamarin, for example.
M A F I V M 7. Xamarin. Campo de texto. Xamarin.
Não.
Campo de texto. Campo de texto. Está editando. Xamarin. M I F A L A maiúscula C. Maiúscula C. Delete. Maiúscula C. Maiúscula X. Maiúscula X. A M A R I Itapevi M Niterói M Niterói M I R A M Macapá 7 desenvolvendo aplicações com Xamarin do Apprentice imagem Xamarin do Apprentice imagem Xamarin do Apprentice imagem.
Okay, let's get this book. I have here all the information about the book. Write a review.
Cancel. 0%. Ajuste 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 90%, 5%.
I liked the book.
5%. Campo de texto. Campo de texto. Campo de texto. Maiúscula I. Maiúscula I. Maiúscula delete. Maiúscula H. Maiúscula F. Maiúscula G. Maiúscula R. R. E. A. T. T. Campo de texto. Está editando. 5%. Ajuste. Campo de texto. Toque 2 vezes para editar. Use um rotor para insetir um ponto. Delete. Maiúscula I. Maiúscula B. F. Delete. B. Space. Espaço. Delete. L. L. I. K. K. E. D. Espaço. A. Espaço. L. L. O. T. T. Campo de texto. Send review. Botão. Send review. Y. Iot. O. Y. Ilídia de Alote. Dome. Botão. Dome. Ilídia de Alote. Send review. Botão. Send review. Atenção. Success. Log view as received successfully. Ok. Botão. Botão voltar.
So with that, I had my app running completely. I achieved all the features that my user wants, and I have a code completely maintainable, completely extensible, and that relates completely to the features that I developed. So it's why I think that's so important that you have to take care about your view models, and it's why I am sharing with you guys why I developed this mind model on how to model my view models, and just making clear, we need to be involved from the beginning of the project, since the conception, so we can start thinking about all these things. And when we start coding with all this information, it's easier to create the commands, to create the interactions, to create the data that you need, and you make apps that work better, and apps that are really great for our users. And that's that, guys. Thank you a lot. Thank you again, Andrew, for the invite. And I am here if you have any questions, and I'd like to discuss with you guys about it. It's the way that I am working with my apps right now, and I think that this way I'm working right now help you guys develop better apps using Xamarin. Thank you.
thanks for coming. That was a really good talk. For me at least. I don't know about anyone else. Starting to see woohoos, thank yous in the chat. I'm going to start us off with a question. It was actually a view model problem I ran in today with dealing with themes, and I was wondering on your opinion on it. So right now, dark mode's really big, and everyone's app, they got to have a light mode and a dark mode. If you had, let's say, a button on like a flyout menu that would just say like, toggle dark mode or light mode, is the theming logic, would you consider that more view logic that doesn't belong in a view model, or would you have it in the view model? And I could see arguments for having some type of theme manager, like an iTheme manager that can orchestrate changing your themes dynamically. I could also see arguments for having something that's more at the maybe the app.current level that's just a quick swap your themes around. I was curious what your thoughts are on how to approach that.
Okay, something that we are implementing on our apps is a combination of both, but not coupling things. So I really don't like when we need, for example, to pass something that's completely related to the view model, or vice versa. One thing that I like to use, we use it. For example, I am a really fan of Prism. I like this library, but I think that all this library has some mechanisms to do that. I won't suggest Message Center because we know all the problems messaging has, but I like this communication with a pub sub. So using Prism, I like to do this feature using Event Aggregator. So I have this option on the flyout to change the theme, but it will dispatch a message to the event aggregator, and for example, in the app, I update the dynamic resources, and it changes all the colors for the app.
Okay.
It's a way that I like to approach it.
So you use some form of eventing, whether it's Message Center. It sounds like you're talking the Prism event aggregator or some similar technology.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with that we make the view and the view model agnostic of each other, and we can test it.
Cool. That makes sense. Thanks for answering that. Just get back to the chat. We had everyone saying thanks. Woohoo! Great job. Okay, question coming in from Thomas. Do you have a preferred MVVM framework like Prism or Fresh MVVM?
I like Prism. I have a very funny story about Prism. When I started working with Xamarin.Forms, I started using MVVM, but MVVM vanilla. And one day I decided, it's in 2015, 2016, I don't remember exactly. I decided, I am 1 year and a half working, every time creating the same thing. Let's create my own framework. And I started creating a navigation service and an event aggregator and so on. And when I started reading the Prism code, I noticed that I was recreating everything that Prism already implemented. So one thing that I like to share to guys is, before thinking about creating a framework, see if there is some framework that that have what you need. If it doesn't have, you can create a PR to implement it on that. Don't start from the beginning again. And I am really fan of Prism. I really like Danzigo and Brian. I think that they create a very, very, very good framework. But I not worked, but I know MVVM Cross, and it's great too. So I am not the guy that say, oh, only use Prism. No, choose one, understand how it works. If you can contribute to it, create PRs, or at least update the documentation or create samples, it helps a lot in the community. But I like to use Prism. I am using Prism since 2016. And when we start a new project and you need to decide about the MVVM framework, Prism is the first choice. This sample, I can share the GitHub repo with you guys. It is vanilla. It's using only shell, but I really like to use Prism.
All right. Does that? I would assume that answers your question, Tom. Drop us a line or open your mic if it doesn't. Yes. All right. Any other questions? So John's asking, does that mean you're holding off on using shell?
Yeah, this app is using shell.
So I'm just gonna put a quick 2 cents in there. I've been working on a Xamarin.Forms app that is using Prism and shell at the same time. The biggest limitations is let me reverse that question. The ViewModel locator works still, but you run into problems with navigation, and you kind of need to write your own navigation and really hack into shell. So there's lots of dragons in there, but you can get. For me, the big advantage of Prism is the ViewModel locator and how the dependency injection works. So that's why I went down that path.
Yeah, I know that Dan is working closer to chain to have the 8.0 version of Prism to work with shell, but this reference app that I use today only uses shell. I don't mix it yet because I know that it's not working as it could. I know that Shane is creating PRs to introduce these extension points inside shell, and Danzigo is implementing the other side, making Prism works with shell for the next version. So the vnext of Prism and shell will work together and will make things easier. I really love the way of Prism handle ViewModels and create all the things. And the 7.2 version that you can use dependency injection inside XAML, it's incredible.
All right, we got an awesome thank you. Any other questions? Going once. No questions? All right. Well, thank you so much for coming. I'm going to take over screen just so we can finish up our recording. I'll make myself first presenter. Sure. Oh, thanks again for coming and presenting on MVVM and writing view models. Before we break into group time, I want to give everyone a reminder that our next meeting is going to be April 8th at 6:30 Eastern Time. So I hope to see everyone there, and we're going to be making announcements on the speaker and the topic in the next week or so. So until next time, thanks everyone for coming. We'll see you next